The Adelaide National War Memorial is looking empty in this footage, but on April 25th it will be the site of the dawn service for ANZAC Day. It's the main day of commemoration for war veterans in Australia and New Zealand. April 25th was the date chosen for this commemoration as in 1915 the Australian and New Zealand forces landed at Gallipoli in Turkey. Many young Australian men signed up to fight for king and country, thinking the fighting would be over by Christmas and they would go off and have a big adventure in Europe. The war dragged on, and by the end of it, Australia had lost a generation of young men. 65% of the men that went away to fight were killed. A few years back, I noticed when travelling around various towns, they all had memorials, originally for those who died in the Great War, as World War I was first called, and later names from the Second World War and now other conflicts as well have been added. The desire to make sure that those who died would be remembered was huge, and the communities themselves raised money for the memorials. Most of them were dedicated and built in the early 1920s. The main type that can be found is the soldier, looking down and leaning on his rifle. Some smaller communities could only afford more modest memorials and went for a plinth with the names engraved in it. In recent years, there's been increased interest honouring those who died, and the memorials have been restored. Canberra, as benefiting the capital city, has a large and impressive war memorial and an excellent museum attached. It's all about to be redeveloped. Melbourne, which had been the temporary capital city, has the Shrine of Remembrance and inside the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It's interesting to see all the various memorials. There are memorial arches, This one seemed to be a double, an arch plus the soldier. This one's my favourite. There were only 10 people from Malala that died, and each of the columns represents one of those 10. There were memorial gardens. Some towns just had a memorial wall. And others had gates. Some memorials have the date 1919, as the end of the war, as that's when the actual peace treaty was signed. The armistice, the stop fighting, was agreed for the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. ANZAC Day is also commemorated in New Zealand, and I found some of their war memorials there as well. I was surprised to find an Australian War Memorial in London. It's in Wellington Square and has a dawn service each year.